What's up, everybody? Welcome to Real.Raw.Uncut. This is episode 33. And I'm with a special guest, my second collab, man, my boy Ezekiel, man. What's going on, dude?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Excellent. Excited
Awesome,
to be
awesome.
on.
Yeah, man. It's so crazy how we came in contact with one another. That's a little funny story we'll tell after you introduce yourself to the fans, though.
Well, yeah, my name is Ezekiel. I'm the host of the Expanded Minds podcast. And part of that, me starting that whole podcast was I have a very deep desire and passion to want to understand truth. And I've had my own fair share of, mystical experiences. And I've been involved with a lot of, church activities, stuff like that. So I've always been surrounded by spirituality, more leaning towards the Christian side. Um, and so I just had this desire to want to branch out and want to get to know other people and, what goes on in their walks, because I'm not the only one searching for truth. So,
Sure.
yeah.
No, that's awesome, dude. So for everyone watching, man, it was so funny how I got in contact with Ezekiel. But if you haven't already seen that interview with My House is Dirty, Y'all Are Sleep, y'all need to go watch it because that
Yeah,
shit is live.
wake up.
Exactly, man. So I think
Wake
it's
up
at like
call.
19K views right now. So it's up there, man. But I know Ezekiel had hit me up on IG, and I don't know if you guys get DMs that go sent to like your request box, but his got sent to the request box. And so I thought, man, this can't be real. Like the way he had like structured it, like it was such a long message. I was like, nah, this probably one of those like overseas, like another country, like trying to scam you type of deal. But I looked through his page because I normally do that when I'm questionable about it. He looked legit. He had his own little snippets of episodes, his own little reels of him talking about stuff, and some of the topics he was talking about on there really resonated with me and marinated. They're really good. So I was like, man, this is probably legit. So let me go ahead and entertain it. And it got to where it got to, and we just we shot an episode. Y'all see it on his channel, and now we're shooting one for the Real.Raw.Uncut people. Second collab, baby. So no, man, I appreciate you reaching out though, man. For real, I really do.
Yeah, I'm grateful too for the stuff you put out. I mean, definitely people are going to benefit, especially men, from hearing about mental health and, that it's okay to cry and stuff like that. Especially, it's very confusing, I think, when, just today in today's society, like with emotions and things like that, it's kind of seen as like, when do I hold it in? When do I, express it? And so I think what you're doing is, you're allowing people to step into a vulnerable state and, be real with themselves about their depression and, mental health issues, stuff like that. So,
For sure,
yeah.
for sure, man. And I love everything you do too, man. I love what your channel is based around. Um, it brings a whole different light to different things that people are being more woke about nowadays, which is spirituality. And it's an interesting topic once you really get to educate yourself on it, or even start to like explore that area of life. It's very interesting. And I know you said you're getting more into I guess religious stuff and more leaning on Christianity, and that's something that I've always you can say questioned in life, okay? Because I didn't grow up in a household where I was going to church every weekend or learned about the Bible or anything like that. The first time I stepped foot in the church was I want to say like 2013. So I was probably like 14 years old at the time. The first time I stepped foot, and it was because of my baby mama and her people. They're big on Christianity. I know my mom, she's Catholic based, but never really went to church ever, always busy working. Um, but that's something that I've always been very intrigued about. It's an interesting um, topic in life, I think. And I think you'll probably be shocked with what I have to say about it. But I'm interested to hear how you got into Christianity.
Yeah. So, dude, I've been in Christianity since I was a little kid.
Okay.
So my mom was my mom's mom was a devout Catholic, and so my mom was religion was impressed upon her a lot. And my mom didn't really like Catholicism. She started going to Christianity. I don't know exactly the whole reason behind it, but she had me going to church with her ever since I was a kid. And so I'd be forced to go as a kid. It wasn't like I couldn't say no, or else I would be punished. And so that was like, that was the first start of it. But I still remember there were key moments in those, when I went to church and stuff like that. There are moments where I was actually genuinely like, oh, like I want to know who Jesus is, or I want to know who God is. Like, and that part of me was like a very self-aware part. I don't know how to describe it other than the fact that I don't know where that desire came from, but there was like this genuineness to be like, oh, I want to know who God is. And the religious people would always talk about God and stuff like that. But all I knew is that those people were throwing thoughts and concepts about some unknown God. And it didn't really resonate with me being in the church like that. And so as a kid, I'm still questioning about it, even though I'm around it a lot and surrounded by that whole religious talk and religious lingo. I've basically been in church all the way up to probably around high school. Was when I actually really started questioning a lot of the stuff that was being said to me. Because before you kind of just go along with it, because in the church they have authority. And so you kind of just go along with it because they know the word of God more than you. And they have more of a theological background and more study. So you kind of just, learn how to submit, which isn't a bad thing, by the way. But, if you don't necessarily do your research yourself and don't necessarily question yourself, you can end up in the wrong hands or in the wrong system of thought to where now you feel trapped by religion and stuff like that. So that's how I ended up feeling. I was going through a lot of depression and suicide around my freshman and sophomore year of high school. And, that question of whether God was real or not really was put upon me because, when you're dealing with suicide, you're dealing with all these emotional issues and depression, stuff like that, and there's no way out, and you're told your whole life that God is the answer to your problems, then you really have to kind of like sit there and be like, is God really real? And I've been told my entire life, God, just pray, that'll solve your problems, stuff like that. But my problems weren't getting solved. So around my junior year of high school, I was so depressed. Like I would go to the bathroom in high school and I would cry to myself and I would be fighting back tears and stuff like that. Like I was that messed up. I also had anger issues myself where that was probably more around like 8th grade year. I had a lot of anger issues as well. But those kind of faded away over time. But going into junior years when I was hitting my breaking point and I was thinking about suicide. And I had ran into these people on YouTube, this group of Christians. And the YouTube channel, if you want to go check it out, is The Last Reformation. And they were praying for people. They would go out into public, pray for people. They believed in supernatural signs and wonders, just like how in the Bible, in the book of Acts, the apostles in the Bible were performing miracles and stuff like that. And it's recorded in there. So they were going on doing that. And when I was watching one of their videos, I had experienced just chills all over my body. And I remember at one point, I just cried like to the depths of my soul. And I had felt a release from all the depression and anxiety that I was feeling and stuff like that. And then that I had a deep desire and burning desire in my heart to want to know God. And so there's just this warmth in my heart that started to appear. And that was the first time that I actually experienced God, not just like hear about him and like some, hear about him logically and stuff like that. It wasn't just a fantasy. There was something tangible about what I had experienced. And I got to a point to where, I was going out and doing those things myself, even though that's controversial to some people about signs, wonders, and miracles. Personally, I was going out myself and doing those things as well and seeing people get free themselves. And I'm not going to say everyone that I prayed for got healed. So there was in that, when I was doing that stuff too, there was a bit of insanity in it, I would say, because not everybody was getting healed. And so from that point, I had to really question a lot of things as well, my approach to Christianity and stuff like that. But eventually those feelings of love and the light feeling I had started to go away. And, I didn't necessarily, all that just dissipated over time, probably like within a couple of months that started to just level out. And I was left kind of back to kind of a depressive state. And I was like, dang, like I had this real genuine experience with God and now it's gone. Like what just happened in that moment? And so that's when I started meditating and trying to find my spirituality and, meditation and stuff like that. But it wasn't necessarily the same as what I experienced back then when that person prayed and I completely got transformed in an instant. And people do have those moments, but sometimes I don't want to advertise that as like that's what happens all the time. But there's also times where you need to grow and learn how to kind of ease into those kind of states that I was talking about. And just to kind of like label what that was, I was in a very high spiritual state. And then when I leveled out, I would consider that the dark night of the soul after further research. So, I had entered into that. And then from there, again, I was left with existential questions on why am I here? What is, the meaning of life, stuff like that. And so that leads me to today exploring, meditation, mystical or centering prayer is the practice I would call it. Just exploring my inward self. Whereas before, when I was focused on Christianity, in my junior year of high school, I was more focused outwardly and trying to pray for people, try to convert people into Christianity. My focus has now become more inward and finding inner peace, connecting with the Holy Spirit, all that kind of stuff. So I'm still learning myself. I consider myself a novice with all this stuff, but yeah, that's a little bit of my background.
No, I love everything you said, man. So I think everything you said, it's amazing because there's a point in my time where I felt the same thing at one point where I was going to church regularly. And what I loved about the church that we were going to with my baby mama was it's a very small church. Like everyone in there knows each other. It's probably at max, probably like 30 to 40 people at max. And everyone in there knew each other, right? So the people in there were comfortable. And I think that's what led me to be so comfortable when they do those moments throughout the church where you're allowed to go to the front and, you get on your knees and you just start praying. And I finally had built up the courage to do that. And that's where I felt like, man, those chills running down my spine. I felt okay. Emotionally was just tears just dropping. And I think that was the closest moment during my life where I actually felt close to God. That fell off over time when I stopped going as frequently as I was. But so I guess my question to you would be for someone like myself that when it comes to the topic about religion, I can never say I'm a religious person in the sense that I don't classify myself as a Christian, a Catholic, Muslim, none of that, because I feel like in my shoes, in my position, not believing in any specific religion, right? There's so many religions nowadays. So if you were to put 10 different religions in front of me, each one of them are going to tell me reasons why the religion is the religion to follow, right? They're going to give me their own valid reasons. They're going to throw scriptures at me or verses at me and tell me, their God says this or whatever the case may be. And so in my point of view, if I have all of these religions telling me that their religion is the one to follow and being non-biased towards any of them, which one truly is the one to follow? You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm a biased person, not believing none of these, but all of them are saying there's the ones to follow, it puts me in a position like which one is really true. So then that's where my questions come up, like about the whole religious aspect of life, with all these different religions, like it makes me question them. So given that you you know, side more with Christianity? What, I guess, attracted you more into that? Because if there's one that I would choose, if I would really like want to get into and really follow, I think would be the Muslims. I love how they, I think their God's Allah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say their God's Allah. And
Mhm.
a lot of the things that they follow and they believe in, I think it's amazing. You know, they don't eat pork. I think that's one major heavy hitter for me. I think it's amazing how they try to take care of their bodies as much as they do try to take care of them. So,
And so, can you say the
so
question again?
your question, I guess my question to you would be, it's like, for someone like myself that's questioning religion, what would be your advice to, I guess, help guide me into the path of, in a sense, you can say, not necessarily believing in it, but what got you to believe into it?
I'm not religious at all myself. I haven't been to church in a long time.
Heard.
But for me, everything is about experience. So when a religion is asking you to like follow them, they're trying to funnel you into some kind of system that'll produce a certain spiritual state inside of you. So if you're a Buddhist, you're gonna focus on certain meditations that are gonna open up certain energy centers in your body that are gonna produce certain spiritual states. Muslim, I don't really know too much about their religion, so I can't speak on anything about that. But I mean, everything's about experience. Like, what do you experience when you go within, you know? And for me, it's always been like an inward pull. And my advice for anybody is just to follow that inward pull, because God exists inside of you. He's within you. So just to follow that inward pull in the heart is really what I want to tell people. You know, I don't necessarily tell them go to this church, go to that church, because I don't. It's very if you say go to this church, you know, it's like, what system do they have set up? You know, what kind of spiritual states do they produce in their followers? And that's the whole goal. And you know, with it, so if I'm going to church, it's like you're gonna achieve spiritual feats. You know, and your mind's gonna expand, your heart's going to expand. Things about you are gonna start to open up deep parts of yourself. So, you know, my advice to anybody is just, you don't have to start with yourself, start with going within. And then when you go to a church and you have this inner knowing, when you go to that church, you'll be like, oh, something about this church is very holy. Something feels very beautiful about it. Let me visit this more so those holy feelings can get transferred into me. Or just notice that there's something off about the church or whatever mosque or whatever holy place there is there. So really just follow your intuitive sense when it comes to that and your experience and what you feel, and you'll be led in the right direction. So.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. I think my biggest thing when it comes to religion, and it's so funny to me because each one has their, like, I guess you say, heavy hitters that really makes me like stay away from them. But I hate how a lot of people that claim to be religious, very hypocritical, right? Because if I were to dress how I used to dress, like, let's just say long shirts, baggy shorts, hanging down below my ass type shit, you know, with my tattoos, I walk into any church, right? It could be a Catholic church, a Christian church, whatever. Instantly, a lot of those people are going to be judgmental towards me, right? Not all of them, but a good amount of them. They're going to look at me sideways. They're going to have these certain thoughts. And I think that's one thing that makes it tough for certain people. Let's just say that I grew up around, to want to be religious, because if they do try to go to a church, they're going to get viewed a certain way. They're going to be judged. They're going to look that funny, all these things along the lines. And aside from that, then at least in Houston, right, we got this big Christian pastor. I don't know if you heard about him, Joel Austin.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so crazy. Like, all the controversy behind him, like the way he lives so lavish. And I think we've had like a lot of like like natural disasters, you can say, in Houston with like the floods or, hurricane. And it's like until he gets put out on social media, he will not open the doors to like the folks to Houston. It takes people calling him out on social media for him to be like, okay, let me open the doors to him. And then you get someone like Mattress Mac, which is another big guy out here in Houston, owns like these big furniture warehouses. Dude's always doing stuff for the community. Not a religious person, just does things out of the kindness of his heart. And I think that's one thing that I believe. Like I always believe in a higher power, right? Does that necessarily have to be a God? I don't know, but I definitely believe there's a higher power out there. And I know there's a name to it when you don't believe a certain religion, but you believe a higher power. Agnostic. There you go. And I feel like if I were to fall into anything, it'd be that, because I feel like I do have that fear of God in me, where I try nowadays to do so good in life. Like I try my best not to be a certain way with people, or do petty things or do malicious things to anybody. I don't steal no more. I used to be big on theft. That's what I got locked up for. Try not harming people. I try to do a lot of things because of the fear of God. But I think a lot of those things come also with what we spoke about, which was self-awareness. For example, like the topic of cheating. I can never cheat on anybody. Like if I was talking to somebody, I could not cheat on that person. One, because of the fear of God, and then two, because of my subconscious mind, it wouldn't allow me to. There's people that cheat, then come home and go to sleep with the person that they're, dating.
Yeah.
As if nothing ever happened. I don't know how people can do that. And it's so crazy that I always find it so crazy that people have that in them. Not to say that they're evil or that they have terrible souls, but my soul will definitely not be at peace or calm if I do these certain malicious things. Like you got Catholic priests that constantly are getting called out for doing disgusting things with like kids or other people. There's just so many things behind religion and people that are religious that it's just so questionable to me. I hate getting into the topic at times because it's like I get so deep in depth with like the negative side of it. But I always feel like there's no need to even go to church either. Like, I mean, I have my questions behind like having to give up money for I think with Christians it's 10%, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's 10%. I think is it 10% of your income or is it just 10%? I don't know what it is, but it comes from like the Old Testament or something.
Yeah.
Like some kind of
and even like the Bible within itself. Like I think the Bible is like, it's like history, I don't know if I forget the name of the game, right? But if you get, let's just say 20 people in a big old circle and someone whispers something into the first person's ear and they're supposed to pass that along all the way to the very last person, I guarantee you the sentence that they said, there's going to be so much shit added to it that it's not even going to be close to what the initial person has said. So I feel like a lot of that happens like in our history books that we get taught in school, especially the Bible. These things that happen 100%. Like ages ago. Not to say that there's no truth behind them. There may be some truth within certain stories there potentially, but as far as like the way they explain it, it's very questionable to me. But I think what you said is completely true though, man. A lot of this has to come within you first. You got to like fully know yourself first. And there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with being religious or believing in a religion, because I think there is certain people that it does help out when they're going through hardships, like yourself, when you were going through, your depression and stuff. And then you found, your religion, or you found God, and that helped you get through it, whether that was through belief or whether that was through prayer or whatever it was, but it helped you get through it. I know there's people that are hooked on drugs, go to church and completely change their life, do a whole 180, So is it helpful? Yes. So I'm not ever going to sit here and say that it's bad to believe into it. But me personally, I just don't believe into it just because I don't know if it's being so strung onto the negative thoughts behind a lot of the religious side of it, or if it comes from just not ever being brought up in a religious household. But for me, it's just not for me. I just, like I said, I know there's a God, there's a higher power, and I know right from wrong, and I know what to do and what not to do. And when I do wrong, I feel like that's why I believe a lot into energies. For whatever energy you put out, eventually, sooner or later, that energy is going to come right back to you. Put in a lot of negative shit in the world, negative shit's going to come back to you. And not to say if you're always trying to do your best and do positive things that you're not going to have negative stuff happen to you, because you will. But I think that's where life just tests you. You know, you get tested all the time. And then I think that's what really makes a person over time. Going through these obstacles in life or going through these hardships in life really test you and see, and builds, I think, your mental state more than anything. And with your mental state, I think everything else falls into place behind it.
Yeah. I kind of want to elaborate on like what I said earlier, like, or what happened to me during that moment, because I spent a lot of time trying to figure out like what happened during that moment, to where I went from totally depressed and suicide to, I was completely free in a moment. In a moment's eye, I was changed. And so again, like the religious scene is not my area of expertise. So for me to be able to comment a lot on what they're doing and stuff like that, I don't know, it's just an opinion that doesn't really necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things. But, when I've done my like research and internal stuff, what happens, or what happened during that moment, was the Holy Spirit came upon me and produced ego death within myself. And so what that means is that my awareness faculty, anybody's ability to be aware, exists deeply in the headspace. And so that faculty, which is imprisoned by my senses, imprisoned by my thoughts, imprisoned by my emotions, all that kind of stuff, the Holy Spirit came down and completely shattered it and shattered those illusions. And so when that opened up, I experienced ego death. And so those depressive thoughts just vanished like magic. And so you can have that experience by praying to the Holy Spirit to come, and that'll happen. Or you can have the experience also by meditating and just undoing a lot of thought patterns inside of your mind, letting go of seeing through your thought, or seeing through the thinker of thoughts, if you will, not identifying with the thinker of thoughts. If you just take time to just look at the thinker of thoughts, you'll have a somewhat similar experience. So, that's what happened. And does that have to do anything with a church or religious organization? Well, it does in a sense, because even the teachings of Christ, he talks about, not to take on thought for your life, because the lilies of the field, they don't worry or do anything. So like the same mode of existence that kind of just life takes, where it's just effortlessly existing and going with kind of like the flow, you could say. It's kind of like that same awareness faculty inside of you is there and constantly flowing. And it's also still, by the way, too. It's very interesting to study it, and just to go inwards and just observe things. So you could say that has to do with mysticism, the term mysticism, which is just going within. And you're just studying yourself. You're studying what it means to be aware. You're studying what it means to be in this body and also out of this body, because there's realities that exist outside of this body. And so you can go to church, and these churches will also induce these experiences as well sometimes. Sometimes they won't. But it's kind of like you need a certain, on my YouTube channel, I have a playlist, a meditation playlist, where if people are interested in what I kind of study and the form of, philosophy I follow, I have a meditation playlist where you can see all the stuff I practice. That's literally what I'll do, and what has influenced a lot of my thoughts when it comes to going within. But I think everything is about being still, becoming silent, because we can talk all day long about God and God this, God that, religion this, religion that, but what does that have to do with being aware and being still and being quiet and just listening and being silent in yourself? That has nothing to do with it. But you can get involved in these things and get emotionally involved in these things. And you could if you want to, but just use your intuitive sense. Like, be free when you do it. Don't just give yourself blindly to following something that you don't know what direction you're going or intending to go in. So
No, for sure. And just to piggyback off of what you said, as far as your playlist and on your channel, everything, Ezekiel's YouTube page, his IG, everything's going to be in the description down below under this video. So y'all make sure to check him out, man. Show him love. Y'all go show him. Man, Real.Raw.Uncut just doesn't fuck with my podcast. We fuck with different podcasts, man. So y'all go show Ezekiel love. But man, I got a question for you. Something that you mentioned. I know a lot of people mention that they experience, which is out of body experiences. If you've gone through any, you want to express any that you've gone through that's, stood out to you and what that is.
I think what is more important to say rather than my own experiences is how it happens, so that people know what's going on. Because I think a lot of people will be, you could say subconsciously, actually having us out of body experience, if that makes sense, but they don't necessarily know what's going on. And therefore it can lead to like someone thinking they're mentally ill or crazy if it happens. But I even had this happen when I have out of body experiences. So this is where I'm talking from. I don't know necessarily where's the start of it, but what happens usually is that your life force or your soul, all your energies in your soul will shoot up into the center of your mind. And it produces inside of you a very intense experience. And then you'll just pop out. And then, I mean, it's like when you're in your soul, it's a very silent, depending on what state you're in, or you can say the intent of your heart, you can go to whatever dimensions you want. And so what happens is, like I said, a lot of your soul's energies get to that certain point in your headspace. If you check right now within your experience, some people have so much pressure in their head, whether it be through allergies or whether it be through anything. Like they might have a lot of pressure through their head because of anxiety and intense emotions they haven't processed through, which actually could be a cause of anxiety, I would say, or allergy sometimes, or people will mislabel it. But when you have an intensity of emotions here, a lot of energy gets stuck here. And that's why you feel out of body when you're going through these kind of things. And so you're already subconsciously sensing it. But what needs to happen though is that when you let go and you let that energy surge all the way through, that's when the happens. And it's very, I wouldn't advise people to do this all the time, because you can do dark stuff as well as, and get yourself in trouble. And so this isn't necessarily something I've navigated. I'm not an expert on. When I've had experiences, there weren't like I was consciously doing it. It just happened because there's one time where it kind of happened intentionally, where I was actually meditating and focusing in on that part. But for the most part, they usually happen unconsciously, or at least to me, or unintentionally. And that happens. You get to an intense point and you're like, I'm about to lose my freaking mind. Like it gets that intense where I'll feel that like I'm losing my freaking mind right now. Like I can't take this intensity. And then when you learn to let go, or like in those experiences when I let go, I'll pop out. Or a lot of times I'll be like, I can't. And then the feelings will subside. And then it kind of just, like I don't break through. And so I think in general, it's healthy it's important to understand this mechanism happening, because this also relates to change in general. So like if you want to change, you're going to have to learn how to shift yourself to a different place. And so you kind of have to be aware of when this is happening, so you can use your heart mind or your heart faculty to be able to make this shift. And again, like I'm not going to act like I'm an expert of this thing. I'm not an expert. I don't have full control of this. But for the most part, this is how I've seen it happen. And I know that you use your heart mind to make shifts into different, if you want to make a change in your health or business, whatever you want to do, it takes a change of heart, like people say, to be able to move that way. But you first have to notice when your mind is changing and starting to make changes. And then you can use your heart. It's the heart-mind connection. Then you use your heart to steer it. And so when it comes to out-of-body experiences, that is usually what happens when I experience it. And there are people who know how to consciously control it. And if you've watched like Doctor Strange or something, like you've seen like those kind of people, like it's a quote unquote movie in some people's eyes and it's fantasy, but these are real things that actually Buddhist people, you know, have knowledge of or certain religious systems know about. And so
For sure. No, I think you'd be really interested in reading if you haven't read this book already called The Three Magic Words.
I haven't read it now.
Oh man, I think you would love that book. I've recommended it to my viewers before. So anyone watching that hasn't read it yet, I recommended you guys watching it because a lot of it ties in together with like what you're speaking about as far as spirituality, which also ties into if you really want to learn about the spirituality stuff. I think it's helpful to know a lot about your chakras, you know, about the crown, your third eye, just all 7 of them. You really learn about them. They all tie in with spirituality. But in the 3 magic words in that book, it's so amazing because it really helps you tap into your subconscious mind, right? At the very end, there's like a whole, I'll call it a scripture, but the last page of the book, something that you read before meditating, right? And it's interesting because I want to say it's 12 chapters. So you're supposed to like read each chapter signifies like a different thing you learn every month. So if you read a chapter a month, within a year, you got this down packed per se. But I know subconsciously a lot of people deal with traumas that they don't even realize that they suffered at such a young age. And it isn't until that you really dig into your subconscious mind that you see all these traumas, right? And the reason I bring this up though is because when we speak about spirituality and you speak about chakras, you speak about energies, you got to have a real good understanding of yourself. You know, I don't think we ever get to fully know ourselves 100%. But once you get to know of like a real good understanding of yourself, who you are, it helps you navigate through life a lot easier in a sense.
Yep, 100%.
And a lot of it though, you got to face these traumas though, you know, because during our adolescence, those are some of our crucial years in life because everything we get taught and learned is really starts within the household. I mean, school plays a role too, but really within the environment you grow up in. That's why people say you become a product of your environment. You grow up in your hood and all you see is killings, robbings, and gangbanging. More than likely, you're going to be involved in all that kind of stuff. You see guys beating up on women, you're going to more likely have a girlfriend, get pissed off, eventually smack her up too. So these are all traumas that, you know, certain people encounter. I know I've encountered some traumas early on in my years, but I had to face them now that I'm older. And now that I face them head on, what did I learn from them? Figured that out, what I could take away from all these traumas and all these past things that I went through. It helped me grow into the person I am now, you know, which has helped me be a lot more open-minded into spirituality or learning about your chakras and how all this works, about energies, you know, how literally everything has energies built up in it and everything vibrates at different frequencies throughout the time. It's all so interesting, man. And this is just random off topic a little bit, but it popped up in my head and I cannot forget this, bro.
Yeah.
I always ask my guests, if there's one piece of advice that you've either learned or been given, what would it be?
Return to that. I would say meditate, but more specifically, because that's kind of a very vague term. Connect to that awareness part of yourself, the part of you that was expanded as a kid. You know, as a kid, you weren't really thinking anything. You were carefree, and your mind didn't really have much thoughts. You were in your heart. You loved life. So my advice to you would be to be silent, go within, observe your thoughts, and and develop that part of yourself, because not even develop it, it's more of get it back, because this world took it from you. And, with social media nowadays, you have so much content and you could take up so much thoughts and ways of thinking that it literally just short circuits that awareness faculty, that ability just to be silent and not have any thoughts and just enjoy life. So I would say just return to that, go inwards and find what that is.
No, I love that, man. I love that. Shifting in direction a little bit, just so my viewers can get to know you a little bit better, because I think that would help them be more intrigued, aside from just listening and hearing you talk, because I like the way you speak. When I've watched your videos, you remind me a lot about my homeboy Jamal, which I have an episode with him speaking over a little bit over spirituality, energy, stuff along those lines. You guys, the way you guys speak, it's and structure what you guys say, you can just tell off the rip when you guys are speaking. It's you guys are educated within what you guys are speaking about. And I think that's important when someone's trying to, I guess, teach someone else something. It's important to at least come off knowing or sounding like you know what you're talking about. With me, I think one of the things that I get judged about a lot in general, not even just like with the podcast, just in general, is the way I talk. And it's just, I can't help it. I have more of like I won't even say Houston slang, but it's just like not the proper English you can, if you want to state it that way. But I mean, that's just how I've always been learning to talk. I read a lot. And so as far as like being woke and understanding things, being observant, and shit like that, like I got that. But as far as being able to articulate my words properly, make them sound real nice, sleek, and professional, I slack, because I just genuinely, not to say I don't give a fuck, but I don't really like put much effort or care into that area. But you remind me a lot of my homeboy Jamal. So I think people would really be intrigued into listening you talk on your podcast. Because like I said, nowadays, man, it's becoming more of a normal thing, which I love, that people are trying to become more woke in life and learn about spirituality, learn more about themselves. I can't say like zodiac signs and all that shit. Me and my boy Jamal spoke about that. People take that shit out of context nowadays. You got a female that you talk to, what sign are you? Oh, I'm a Libra. Oh no, I don't come. We're not compatible. It's like, man, y'all are tripping. I hate that shit. But
I love it, but I hate it.
Yeah, I love it. I hate
it. It's a conversation opener. It's a conversation opener.
It is. It is. It is.
But,
it is.
We can start it off in different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I do. A good conversation starter if they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I do love it when they say, "Oh, you're a Libra." Oh, no, we're compatible. Then, I mean, that's when I love the conversation, because it's like, what I'm saying? Then you get it in a little bit. But now, what I was going to get to though, man, is where do you feel like you want to go with your podcast? Like, what is your idea with what you want to do?
Man, that's a good question. I just want people to be more aware. I mean, kind of the vision with what I have with my podcast is, it's called Expanded Minds for a reason. If you look at like a saint, a picture of a saint, you'll see a halo around their head. And that's because their mind is expanded. And so I want people to know what that is like and to experience that. And so, that's basically the whole point of it. And that's the direction I want to take it. It's not necessarily a direction in which I'm not thinking about a lot of followers. I'm not thinking about, or let me back up, because a lot of followers actually would be nice, but I'm not like being greedy for a bunch of followers. I want my content to be able to be on par with with my experiences that I've been through. Like, I don't want it to be bogus or fake or anything like that. So, I just want people to have an experience to where, they have their own awakening. They find God. They find peace in their lives. I add some kind of good or wisdom to their life. And,
what made you want to start your podcast?
I've always had a sense to just to go on social media, but I never followed through. Like, I don't know where it came from. With Instagram, I had started posting in 2017, my idea though was during the time when I was doing the whole um, ministry thing and I was going out talking to people about Jesus and stuff. I was gonna make it like that to where I'm preaching and I'm actually showing that I'm healing people, because you have a lot of skeptics and people are like, you can't miraculously heal people. That's BS. And I was
Mm,
like, I'm gonna show people that this is possible. I only posted one video about it, and you'll get a lot of people judging you for it and stuff like that, because it's not quote unquote normal to do that kind of stuff. So I kind of just hid from that. I don't shied away from it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just always had a sense. I know it's not really a big. I had a good feeling about it, so I just did it, did it like that. And luckily, I've had more experiences to where it's like I can share more now. Whereas if I started in 2017, I didn't necessarily have more of a base or foundation to be able to share some stuff. So
so I guess a question for both of us. I've never answered this out loud before, but given that we're both small influencers with the podcast barely coming up, who's your like ideal, like if you could pick anybody to interview, who would it be?
dude, oh my god, oh, that's a hard question because man, I I find people who are into mysticism very interesting, especially when you can feel from them just their aura and stuff. Like it's very powerful. I have one in mind named Justin Paul Abraham. He's
Okay.
a he's a Christian mystic. It's pretty interesting. Um, I mean, there's so many avenues. Like I'm also open minded to other things as well, like other perspectives as well. So uh, I don't know yet. I mean, that's the main one right now, but I don't necessarily like putting it all on this one person. Like I
Yeah,
need
yeah,
him on my show. It's like
for sure, for sure.
someone that I want to have, but I think as I keep going on this journey, I want to explore who else is out there and where other people are, evolving and finding truth. So
I love that. Nah, I definitely, if I had to choose somebody that if I could just pick anybody, it definitely have to be my boy Rod Wave, man. I love his music. And dude, I've always said there's not one song that he's put out that I don't think is an amazing song. There's artists like I love Kevin Gates. He's in my top 5 for sure, but I feel like there's certain songs that's just like, I mean, they're okay. They're not bad, but Rod Wave is like every song. Like he talks about things that, at least for me, that it's just almost every song is so relatable. Either something I've been through, something I'm going through, or it's just so like it touches my soul like in a whole different way that no other songs can do. And there's like a handful, depending on what kind of day I'm having, would literally get me so emotional. Like his music is just amazing to me. So Rod Wave was definitely somebody that I would love to just sit down and just pick his brain and get to know him better on a whole different pedestal. Like just given that, like I said, I can relate so much to him. So being able to have someone sit down on my podcast that I feel like I can relate a lot to the shit that he's been through and vice versa. But this guy's like a, big time artist and shit. Just, I think that'd be so amazing, dude. Oh
yeah,
man, that'd be like my dream come true right there.
hey, let's make it happen.
Got to, man. Gonna manifest that one for sure. Got to.
Hell yeah.
Nah, man, but I think it's been amazing to have you on here, bro. I think this was an amazing episode. There's a lot of things we spoke about that I think were very interesting throughout the whole entire episode. I think, the fact that you reached out to me, man, it didn't happen just for anything. I think everything happens for a reason, and I think us two, coming together on an episode, doing one on your channel, doing one on my channel, like I think it's an amazing thing, that for one, that you initiated it, right? But two, that something in me was just like, you know what, let me just give him a chance. Even though at first I was like, man, this shit can't be true. Like this ain't real, man. I swear to God, I was like, this ain't legit. But the fact that it happened, man, I think it's amazing. And I'm so looking forward to doing it again. And I mean, you even opened up something completely different for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's things you can take away and there's things I can take away from just us two encountering with one another. Like, one thing I can take away is with somebody that maybe like a family member I have in Cali, because you stay in LA, which shout out Cali, man. I love Cali's my second home. But I have a lot of people out there. You know, I have people in other states that I genuinely fuck with. So being able to introduce this now, first time doing a Zoom call type of podcast, I think is dope. I think it's a game changer, and it'd be easier for me to get guests on here, even if they're not within my city or we're real busy. Or I can't drive all the way to where you're at because Houston's so big. Sometimes I get guests that live an hour away and they make the effort to come all the way to me still. So it'd be a lot easier to me introducing this to them. So I really appreciate that.
Maybe one day we'll be able to teleport to each other's locations. And
hey, man, with all the metaverse shit, man, you never know. We could do something like that. Nah, man, I touched down a lot in Cali. I don't really go to LA too often, but I've gone before. And if I ever touch down over there, man, I would love to do one actually out there. Or if you come down to at least somewhere in Texas, it don't have to be Houston. You can be in like Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, some shit like that. I'll drive to you and bring my stuff, and we'll do another episode.
That'd be so cool to do in person.
Oh yeah,
whole different ball game, by the way.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But nah, man, I don't know if there's any last words you want to say before we cut this off.
I kind of do want to return to something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think if I say too much, though, we might open up something else.
No, you're good, man.
I'm over talking about it. But,
yeah, go on. Let's go.
When it comes to like kind of what I practice, I want to be clear so that people know what that is. I'm not personally too much into chakras mainly it's because of my Christian upbringing, to be honest. You know, we're always told that Kundalini is demonic, stuff like that. So I kind of have stayed away from it. But after like further meditating, stuff like that, I can see how there is chakras. And so mainly what I practiced though was just awakening that deep center of awareness in the center of the head. And so if that's a chakra point, then cool.
Your third eye.
I just want to say it because, you know, I am part of, I do believe in Christianity. So it's kind of like, I don't know, but I know that early Christianity does stem from Kabbalah or like Judaism, and some of Judaism and some sects involve Kabbalah, which involves chakras. So I'm not in denial of there being chakras, or let me back up because I'm kind of in denial of it. So I'm still trying to work that out on myself. But for the most part, like I believe in personally just developing your awareness by being aware that you're aware. Like how in a lucid dream, you become aware that you're aware, or you're aware that you're dreaming. And you're just like, oh, I can do anything I want. And then you go and stuff like that. So I kind of just want to be clear on that so that people kind of have an idea that, you know, I think there is chakras. I don't necessarily understand them all the way. It's something that someone would have to teach me. And I don't necessarily, it's a whole like rabbit hole you can go down. So I don't necessarily want to be in denial of it. Neither do I want to be all the way open to that kind of system, because it is chakras are energy systems. So I don't necessarily, I know they're there, but
for sure,
you know, I'm kind of struggling with believing and giving myself fully to learning that. But who knows? I mean, I might change over time. I'm still learning about this kind of stuff as I go inward. But
it's a definitely interesting topic. I don't know if we're able to do more than just us two on here, but man, I would love to schedule like a one day you and I, and I'll get my boy Jamal to hop into this as well, and talk about it, because he's so educated in that field. Like that's why I wouldn't speak on it too much, because he's the one that's like, he reads up and studies that so much, and just that's his playing field is behind all the energies and chakras. Like I'm telling you, if you watch through that whole episode, just hearing him talk,
I did. So
he's just
go watch it right now.
Yeah, if y'all haven't seen it already, man,
go watch that episode.
There you go. But man,
it has my stamp of approval.
There you go. Nah, but it's been a pleasure though, Ezekiel. Like I said, man, it's been an honor to shoot this episode with you, man. Like I said, it's a blessing within itself, dude. So I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your time, the patience, and everything, man.
Yeah, no problem. Those are my last words. Thank you for having me on.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So for everybody watching, like I said, man, before we close it out, Ezekiel's channel, his YouTube page, his IG, everything's going to be in the description down below. So make sure you guys go check him out, show love. Y'all leave any comments down below. Y'all go ahead and educate us on a few things that we may have talked about on here that you guys are aware of that we maybe didn't touch on, or if we did, we didn't go into detail and you guys know more about it. Well, I know he's open-minded by just speaking to him already. So he classifies, for my viewers, y'all know what it is, but he classifies as one of the 1%ers with us now. So
I love that. I love
oh yeah, he's part of the 1%er gang now. So
1%, baby, we made it.
There you go,
I get
man.
to the 0.001% next.
There you go. There you go. Nah, man, but it's been an honor, man. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it too, man.